from the News Channel 5 network. This is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. Nashville Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. He's the presiding officer of one of the largest legislative bodies in the nation on the local level. He appoints all the council committees and who leads them each year. He's also next in line to be mayor if that office ever becomes vacant. But who is Jim Shulman, and what does he think about the many issues now facing Nashville and local governments across the country? Vice Mayor Jim Shulman is our guest on Inside Politics this week. He's a frequent guest on Morning Line with Nick Barris here on News Channel 5 Plus. It's the first time we've had the honor of having him on the program with us. So, Mr. Vice Mayor, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Pat. It's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to be here for the first time.
My full disclosure, I'm also the announcer and host for the live telecast of the Metro Council. They meet first and third Tuesdays of every month, and they're on the Metro Nashville network. But I want to get that out of the way so everybody knows what the relationships are. Okay. When people hear the word vice mayor, Jim, what do they think? Most people think of being vice president, lieutenant governor, or maybe the head, somehow part of the executive administration. How much of that is true for a vice mayor of Nashville? How much of that is not true?
Well, so the vice mayor does not run on the same ticket as the mayor. We run completely separate. I have an office, but it's not in the mayor's office. I don't work for the mayor. I work for the citizens of Nashville and Davidson County. A number of people think that I'm in his office, or her office. The vice mayor is in the mayor's office.
Down the hall.
It's down the hall. It's not. It's completely separate. I work with the council. My official responsibilities are to run the council meetings.
There are 40 council members. That's, I think, outside of New York and Chicago, it's the largest legislative local body in the country. How difficult is it to run meetings, much less all the other things you have to do with the council, with committees and everything else? How difficult is it with 40 members?
Well, so a lot of people refer to it as herding cats.
Or a silly putty.
Or whatever. But if some of your viewers ever watch the council meetings or come down to the chamber, it's a little bit more complicated. First of all, you got 40 members with 40 different opinions. It's almost like it's running a production. So, and here's what I mean by that. I kind of know what's going to happen. I know what bills are going to be difficult before I go in. But if you watch me, and I'm not saying you have to, but if you watch me, I have a screen to my left. I have an agenda in front of me. I have consent calendars to my right, and behind me to my left is where the council members, if they want to speak, hit their buttons. So I have to be staying on the agenda. I have to be pushing buttons to the left, and I have to be checking this monitor behind me to make sure that somebody hadn't hit their buttons. So it's like I'm running 3 computer screens. I've got 2, but I've got an agenda that I've got to follow. It's a matter of being really, really prepared before I go in there. Is
council being that big a good thing? I mean, I know originally the first charter was going to put it at 25.
Yeah.
The voters rejected that. When they went back, the voters told the people who put the charter together, no, we want it to be bigger. Now, the old county court was pretty big. The old city council was pretty big. People complain about how big the council is, but when there was a chance to change it a few years ago, they said no.
I think a lot of people like, particularly with their district council members, like knowing that whoever their district council member is around them. So, I'd like to explain it this way, and I'm sure people have heard this before. Your average citizen cannot figure out how to get information to the President of the United States or to the federal government about whether we should, what is our policy regarding Russia. Okay, we just kind of have to let our elected officials do that and hope that they, have good sense to keep us protected and safe. State legislature obviously meets here in Nashville. A little bit easier to find them, but they meet January through April or May, and sometimes there's a lot of bills flying through, and sometimes people don't know exactly what's going on there. But I think our Davidson County delegation is really good. With the council, it's all local, and most likely, where your council member lives, and you know what they look like, and if you've got a pothole that needs fixing in front of your street, you know who to call. So that's why there's a benefit of having 40 members, because it's easier to find those individuals.
You have to appoint all the committees, you appoint all the chairs. I imagine sometimes you make people unhappy because they don't get their first choice on a committee, or they want to be a chair and they don't get to be a chair. But you have to make even first termers chair. You have, the term limit is only 2 terms, so
Yeah.
you have to start making people, put people in leadership pretty early on, otherwise you have no bench.
Right. So you got to move very quickly. You got to bring up the new members as quickly as possible. This time, Pat, what I did was, the first year we had some special committees, and I made all the first termers serve as chairman of some of those special committees so they would get ready. And then on the second go around, the first year, I think everybody who was a chairman of a committee was a returning member. But the second year, which we just finished, I think most of the members were first termers.
Historically, the Budget and Finance Committee has always sort of been considered to be the greater among equals. You get a lot of requests for that. Are people unhappy when they don't get on that, or do most of them get their first choices?
We try to do what we can, but
I mean, there's 13 members on it, so there's a lot of
there's a lot of members, but there's a lot of people who want to be on it, because once they figure out that that's where you want to be, that's the committee. Have a lot of people request it, and a lot of people get mad when they don't get on there.
The council recently reorganized and renamed a number of its committees. What was that all about?
Trying to organize a little bit better. We had 14 committees. We're now down to 11. We had to change a few things. A lot of it is that the committees, as you know, the committees can't hold legislation unless they use one special maneuver. So if a bill comes through and it's voted down 0 to 10, it still goes to the floor for discussion. I think council members are, and on Tuesday night, the committee meetings are all kind of jammed up together. I think the council was trying to figure out a better way to kind of ease some of that time restrictions and come up with less committees.
One of the new committees that you created was to reflect the new Department of Transportation that Metro now has. Now, that department is not a permanent department at this point. It was sort of under a memorandum of understanding between Public Works and the Water Services. Water Services is taking over and doing all the trash collected and solid waste stuff. But we may have to change the charter to do that. Are you premature in making the change in committee heads? Because that may not be a permanent thing. So far, it looks like it's going to be okay, but we still got to vote. The people still got to vote.
So the council was the one who recommended the changes in the rules to create these different committees. Were we premature? I don't think so. I think it was fine to go ahead and do it. We can always go back if we need to, but that seems to be where it's all headed, so I think we were okay.
Vice Mayor Jim Shulman is our guest. He's the head of the Metro Council. We're back to continue on some of the issues facing the city and the council itself. Back to continue our conversation after this break.